So, who's the Mars? This one? Or this one? Who is it? Which one looks more like Mars? What do you think? The problem is there's, on this red carnelian sphere, there's white on this, and on this petrified wood sphere, there's also some white. But let's just say this one. So we're dealing with Mars, which is the Lord of Destruction. This is a video on the trauma in psychology and astrology of how Mars relates to all the blockages in your masculinity, how your muscles are affected by this planet in your chart, and I will tell you at the end of this video how you can identify spiritual, emotional and physical blockages relating to your Mars sign, your Mars aspects, your Mars house, because Mars is a malefic, traditionally speaking, and it points at where we get irritated, where do we get annoyed in our life, where do we get frustrated. Mars also in medical astrology relates to adrenaline, and adrenaline is connected to fear, and fear is because we're dealing with some kind of danger, some kind of problem, something that threatens our survival. So think about Mars as a significator of your survival. Where do you have to fight to survive? So if you had, for example, Mars in the 3rd house, which is about communication, which is my Mars, I've had to fight very hard in order for people to listen to me. I felt like if I don't assert myself dominantly and aggressively, nobody's gonna give a shit about what I have to say. Now, if I had Mars, let's say, in the 6th house of work and health and routine, I would feel that I have to try very, very hard to get work, to get anything done. So I would feel frustrated when I can't get any work done. So Mars would help me. Actually, I can relate to this because I have Mars in Virgo. So wherever you have Mars in a sign or a house, it will frustrate you to get you to work. Because Mars is about industry, it's about productivity. So Mars significates not only problems we have, challenges, what kind of enemies are we meeting who threaten us, but also how we can do something productive to help us along, to forge our destiny. Because Mars is an inner fire. It's a fire in the physical body, and the fire usually, it comes from down here and then it goes up into the head. And from the head, which is Aries ruled, the ruler of Mars, then it can affect the eyes, it can affect the forehead, but essentially it's about taking action. And if you don't take action, the fire gets stuck. So if you have anything like hard aspects with Mars, let's say you have a square, an opposition, or a conjunction with a planet that relates to restriction or constriction, like Saturn or Chiron. But also if you have something like Neptune, which is about hiding the Mars, putting it underground. But even the sign and the house can tell you how well is Mars functioning, how easy is it for you to express. So for example, I have Mars in the 3rd, so in a masculine house, Mars is happy because it's a masculinity. It's your masculinity. If you have Mars in the 12th house, where it's about the dissolution of the self, and Mars is all about selfhood and assertion, then of course it's going to struggle. Because it's the house of service. How are you going to assert yourself by serving other people? Doesn't really make sense, does it? Of course you're still gonna have to do it somehow, but you're gonna have difficulty because it's not direct, it's not obvious of how it's gonna be achieved. Mars is about getting things done in that house. This is how you get things done in your life. This is how you get motivated. This is how you get going, because you feel like The time is ticking, the clock is running out, and if you don't get moving, you're gonna get frustrated. You are anticipating frustration automatically. It's almost like if you have Mars in the chart, it's like an internal regulator. It's like a drill sergeant. Think about the military, right? Mars, the ruler of war. In military, you have a sergeant and he tells you what to do. And if you don't do what it tells you, then you're gonna get punished. You're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get whipped. So you feel the fire will burn you from the inside. Like you will get angry, frustrated, irritated, pissed, annoyed. It's all the same. It's just fire burning you to get moving. It's like when you put a blade into a forge, into the lava, the blade is molded by the lava. But if you stay in the lava too long, the steel is going to melt. It's going to break down. And you're not going to have a sword. So you're going to disintegrate. Mars gets you moving through destruction. It's Mars in your chart is telling you, get moving or you will be destroyed. So it's quite dramatic, right? Like if you think about it, oh, it's about fighting, go, 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 go. It's not very nice. It's not very like, I am Neptune and I will just dissolve you, just sacrifice yourself, give yourself to me. It's not this kind of energy. It's more like, do it now! Or something horrible will happen to you and I will make it happen. It's almost like somebody's trying to torture you to get into action. So I guess that is why they call it a malefic. Just like they call Saturn a malefic, because Saturn is about restriction and constriction and delays and also frustration, but a different frustration. Mars is like quick, 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 go, 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 while Saturn is like, oh no, if I don't eventually get this structured and stable, it's all gonna fall apart. While the difference between Saturn and Mars is Saturn is long-term, future-oriented, and Mars is short-term. It's now, quickly. So there's always some kind of impulsivity wherever you have Mars in the chart. And where you have impulsivity, you have a lack of patience. And this lack of patience has a reason. Right? There's a reason for why you get frustrated. It's not like, oh, I get frustrated, so horrible. The frustration is there to serve you. Because psychologically, spiritually, elementally, emotionally, on some level you believe you have an unquestionable, unbreakable belief, because you're born with a Mars, that if you don't get frustrated, you will not survive. Somehow it's gonna end very badly for you. So Mars is somebody who forces us. We're not gonna be able to get around Mars. So that's why I think Mars is extremely important, because if you try to bypass and just say, no, just be love and light, let's forget that we have to fight for this, let's just be peaceful, like Mars in Libra or Mars in Pisces. That's why Mars is debilitated in both of these signs. It's not happy here, because how are you going to get anything done if you're not willing to feel the pain, to be forged in the fires of industry? If you don't allow yourself to be molded by the initiation of the molten core, of the burning coals, how are you going to cook your food? Right? You need fire. How are you gonna create iron to create a foundation for your home, for your empire? You need fire. If you want to get warm in the winter, you also need fire. I mean, there's countless applications for Mars. And that's why it's so essential in the chart, and that's why it's one of the inner planets. So it's one of the first planets we look at if we want to get some kind of guidance in our life. And what happens if Mars is blocked? What happens if your Mars is not functioning properly? Well, not only will you feel some kind of frustration, but if you try to bypass the frustration with meditation, or you try to just be nice and be peaceful and be loving, blah 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 blah, everything that Mars hates, love and light is anathema to Mars. Mars couldn't care less about your love. Mars will torture you to get the job done. Now, what's going to be your response to the suffering and the pain that cannot be avoided? If you try to avoid it, of course, you're going to be lacking motivation. Without frustration, no motivation. Without frustration, there's no circulation, because Mars rules the blood, the flow of blood. So if you have problems with the extremities, so if your hands are always cold, your feet, if you can't warm yourself up, if your body is very sensitive to cold, that's also a Mars issue. It means you're not allowing yourself to contain the fire. You're not appreciating the fire. You're not allowing the fire to expand inside your body. Why expand? Because Mars also rules the muscles. If you take a workout, if you go to the gym, if you lift heavy weights, if you have work to do, right? Work, production. You need your muscles. You need to do some kind of labor. So Mars expands the muscles, and if you can't channel the fire into the muscles, and of course, as you channel it, you move and you actually take action. If this process is not flowing naturally, if this is blocked in any way or whatsoever, then you get cold. And without the motivation, you also feel like the zest is missing with a blocked Mars. You feel like, why should I get up in the morning? What should I get moving for? There's no enthusiasm towards any projects. There's no looking forward to the reward. That once you get the job done, you feel relieved. That's also a blocked Mars. Being unable to appreciate work in general. So if you're lazy means not that you're on the couch all the time, because you could be daydreaming and doing something creative and imaginative, and when you write about it or anything. Not that kind of lazy. When you're lazy, I mean, no matter how hard you try, you just can't get yourself to get anything done, because you just don't feel like it. You just don't want to, right? The wanting is missing. Why is there no wanting? Why don't you want to do anything? So that's a Mars issue. So I'm trying to tell you this because I want you to look at your Mars very critically, and I want you to ask yourself, do I want to do stuff daily? Stuff that gets me going, that helps my life to be more safe, to ensure my survival. Mars tells you a lot about your career, because these are the goods that you're going to produce in your life. What goods are you producing? So I'm producing words, right? If you're watching this, you can probably tell. I have Mars in the third in Virgo. So I produce details, all the structured intelligence to teach you, third house, how to improve your life and fix your problems, Virgo. That is my Mars. That is my contribution. So you see, Mars is also something very, very positive. If I didn't have Mars, I wouldn't be making these videos. Wouldn't be talking to you. You wouldn't learn anything from me. And I wouldn't research anything, I wouldn't feel like, I wouldn't be curious. I wouldn't want to get moving and make anything. I mean, why would I? Without my Mars, I'm dead in the water. I'm on my couch watching Netflix all day. I'm sleepwalking through life. I'm like a zombie. So people who are very frozen, very stagnant in their lymphatic system, because fire also rules your ability to burn through toxins. Fever, right? Where do you measure the fever? Forehead. So if you measure the fever in the forehead, you know Mars is in control of the fever, then you know Mars is in control of your health, a very substantial aspect of your health. It's your inner warrior. It's your defense system. It protects you against foreign invaders, parasites physically and emotionally. It's also the inner warrior that stands against demons, hostile forces, darker forces, because Mars represents the fires of initiation. It rules the third eye, your ability to illuminate the darkness. So if your Mars is blocked, it also means you are victimized by hostile forces and you're very, very porous. Demons can easily penetrate your aura. Authority figures can easily control you because your defense system is compromised. If your Mars is working properly, if your Mars is working well, then you'll be able to take action and you make boundaries. You separate yourself from the hostile elements in your life. So you eliminate toxins. If you have it in Virgo or the 6th house, you change your diet, you cleanse yourself, you purify. But wherever you have Mars in the chart, that is where you do some purification, some kind of burning. It's very similar to Pluto. Pluto is about cleansing and refining in an emotional way, while Mars is in an instinctive way, like this is the bottom line. It's not, oh, I'm just improving my emotions. But we as human beings, while we rely on our emotions, it's not the foundation of everything. Like, for example, I could be happy or sad, but I'm still going to go to work, even if I'm sad. That's not what Mars is about. Mars is about instinct. That means, why do I go to work? To survive, to earn money. I don't care if I'm happy if I go there. If I need the money, I will accept the depression and the sadness to a certain degree. Obviously, like, I'm not a slave, but there's going to be priorities. Okay? Mars is about survival. So this is what I do to survive. In the house Mars occupies, you shine a light on this area. You have to take action there. Your masculinity operates also in a penetration way. There's this act of penetration. Because Mars, you think about the symbol. It's a masculinity symbol. It's like a dig. Okay? And a dig, what does a dig do? A dig penetrates. Why? Because it's implanting something, a seed, and from that seed something is supposed to grow. So it wants to create life. So it's life force. Mars shows you where your life force is focused on in this life. Where you're pouring your life into, your fire, your energy, your spirit. The spirit of fire, Fire is spirit. What spirit is consciousness. It's your ability to be aware of something. So Mars helps you to identify certain aspects in this house. So if you have Mars in the 12th house or in Pisces, it helps you to identify problems, and solutions, drives, motivations, your passion, enemies, how to produce, how to lose, how to fight, how to engage in the area of spirituality, of everything that has to do with fantasy, with getting away from life and looking inwards, understanding that when you have Mars in this house or in this sign, you are somebody who will only fight for this. If there's something that you have to fight for, it's for your spirituality. And Mars gives you confidence in this regard, because if you want to take a stand, it's you fight. You take a stand, that means you choose a side. So Mars is about the area of life where you choose sides against something, for something. That's also what penetration is about, because you are investing, right? You are going into that pussy, so you are going in. You're going into the tunnel, and once you're in the tunnel, you're not getting out of this alive. You have invested your life force into this vessel, this house, this sign. You have to stick to it. It's about commitments. If your Mars is not committed to where it is at, then your life force will dissipate. It's like going fapping daily. It's like you're masturbating on your Mars. Like, you know how procrastinating sounds very similar to masturbating. It's essentially the same thing. You're wasting your seed. And if you're wasting your seed, you're wasting your fire. And why do you have a fire, by the way? It's like a furnace. And why is it burning? Because it's sustaining your blood cells. It's the iron in your blood, right? Iron production. So if you have anemia, if you have problems with iron utilization, that's also a Mars issue. If you have issues with the eyes, because the eyes are not only the window to the soul, it's the window to your spirit. The spirit that engages with the world. Like, you know how the eyes are the most engaging aspect of the face. The eyes are the most expressive. They communicate more than anything else. We are very visual creatures. So Mars rules this body part. So if you have issues with your vision, if you're wearing glasses, first of all, it doesn't necessarily mean you have a Mars problem, but most of the time probably you do have a Mars problem. Some kind of inheritance from your family, especially if you have glasses early in life. If you're short-sighted or far-sighted, it doesn't really matter. Any eye issues, inflammation, burning, irritation, crusty eyes, dry eyes. The fire dries you out because it's drying the waters. The eye is actually 90% water, which is ironic, considering they belong to a fire planet, but yes. They are co-ruled actually by the moon. Moon and Mars rule the eyes together. So these are the two planets you have to look at for eye problems. For blood problems, so let's say somebody had leukemia in your family, or tuberculosis, some kind of issues with the blood, white blood cells or red blood cells, doesn't matter, blood cancer or something. That person has 100% guaranteed a big Mars issue. And with a Mars issue, you're dealing with circulation. So if somebody is pale in the head, like, you know, these children nowadays, you see sometimes that the head is so pale, also Mars issue. If a fire is not rising into the head, where is it getting stuck? Usually it's getting stuck down here, It could also be stuck in the genitals, can be stuck in the bladder, can also be stuck in the kidneys, because kidneys are ruled by Libra, and Libra can shut Mars down because it's opposite energy. So if you have too much Mars in your life, however, that's also possible. So let's say you're completely burned up. Like, you know, these kinds of people, everything is red, they're completely red all the time, or they flush very easily, or they have some kind of eczema in the face. That means they have too much Mars, but the Mars isn't going anywhere. They're not tactical about how they use their Mars. So there's some kind of Libra problem, and the kidneys are usually involved. And these are the people that also get eye problems, they get problems with premature aging, they get issues with the head, with the hair loss. Also Mars issue. All the people that you see who have hair loss, 100%, 9 out of 10 cases, blocked Mars in the family. I see it time and time again. It's when there's some kind of tyrant in the family, some kind of dominator, who's telling you don't use your Mars. Or if there's some kind of cowardice in the family, right? If you are a coward, you will not fight anybody. You will not take a stand for anything. You will not choose any sides. That's also a red flag, by the way. People that tell you, I'm not gonna choose any side. I'm so morally superior. Cowardice. These are usually Mars in Libra, Mars in Pisces, but there's plenty of Mars in Libra, Mars in Pisces who aren't cowards. So the sign itself doesn't tell you if somebody's a coward. Not even the house. You need a variety of factors. Like, for example, I know one coward in my family, because my father is a coward. He has Mars in Libra, actually. But the problem is not the Libra itself on its own, because Libra is still a masculine sign. The problem he has, on top of the Mars in Libra, he has Mars opposition Saturn. So there's some kind of fear blocking the Mars, okay? So Mars-Saturn aspects are about fear, interacting with your courage, drowning the fire, suffocating it, so then it burns on the inside. There's also hard aspects of Neptune, or hard aspects of Chiron, because I have Mars conjunction Chiron. I always had the problem that I feel that if I use my Mars, if I use my aggression, is going to somehow be the end of me. Some kind of delusion, you know, like projection. Because of course my father punished me severely for my aggression. So I learned to shut it down. But so why am I seem to be okay now with a Mars. So how did I heal my Mars? Well, fortunately, there's a good aspect about even the hard aspects. Like, if I tell you about my Mars, I tell you the fact that I have Mars opposition Saturn as well. I have Mars conjunction Chiron. I have Mars square square Uranus, square Mercury. I have Mars opposition the midheaven. Like, this Mars is a mess in my chart. So how is it working? If Mars has a conjunction with an aspect, it merges and fuses with it. So my Mars is fused with a Chiron. So these two aspects are working together, the wounded healer and the Mars, and I cannot use my Mars without doing some kind of healing. I cannot do any self-healing without using the Mars. So there's always an experience of, I pump up my muscles, I get ready for battle. Time to get the adrenaline pumping. Time to be afraid. And when it's a time to be afraid, it's a time to take action. it's a time to have courage. And this is when you know that things are moving forward. So I'm very aggressive, very assertive about healing myself and healing people in general, to help them to access their Mars. So a lot of people actually come to me for their Mars, because I learned that if I don't heal my Mars, it's going to fuck me up. It's going to block my work because it's in Virgo. It's going to block my career because I have Aries midheaven. So if you have Aries in the chart, this is connected to your Mars. Your Aries and your first house, if your Mars is blocked, those two will be blocked automatically, no matter what. No matter what. So that's also very important to know. There's the ruler of the sign Mars occupies. There's the ruling house, the first house. But there's also any aspect in relation to your Mars. If you have some kind of conjunction with your Mars, that planet that is conjunction with Mars is going to be subject to him. So let's say you have Mercury conjunction Mars. Your communication is only going to be as good as your Mars is healthy. And how is a Mars healthy? Mars is healthy when you know how to deal with fear. Fear is a Saturn-Mars domain. It's the domain of anything that's uncomfortable and malefic. Fear is important because fear is about self-protection and self-preservation. That's why Mars is so essential. If you didn't have fear from the lion would eat you. So you have to have fear, otherwise humanity would have died out thousands of years ago. So don't let any love and light a New Age bastard tell you that fear is something to let go of. If you let go of fear, your Mars will be blocked. Simple. Yes, it's that simple. Sacrifice your fear. Bypass your fear. Ignore your fear. It's going to sabotage you. You're not going to be motivated. You're going to be lazy. You're going to be disinterested. You're going to be lethargic. You're going to be sensitive to the cold. You're going to be weak. Your muscles, like people, for example, who have a very frail body, like very skinny, like I'm skinny, but I have muscles, like I have tissues. I have lean mass, you could say. I'm actually super skinny, like really skinny, like bottom. But I have so much lean mass that I don't look as skinny as I am. But there are people who are not really that skinny, but they look emaciated and they look like they're starving, even though they may have like a pot belly. You know, these kinds of people, that means their Mars is completely screwed. Their Mars, it gives you lean mass, because it makes you bulk, right? I mean, of course it does, because like I said, it's life force. Like, okay, you know the sun in astrology is life force, but Mars is a life force that is a physical body. It's coming outwards in order to engage. Like, the lead mass has a purpose. It's to provide a function, to work. Like I said, production and defense. That's it. That's what Mars is about. The sun is about self-image. It's about self-esteem, authority, skill, being an example in one area of life. You don't need your muscles to have self-esteem. You don't need any lean mass. It has nothing to do with any of that, the sun. But of course, defense and production, of course it's lean mass. So you see, you can make these very obvious connections. And Mars also rules adrenaline. So people who are very anxious, very jumpy, like people who get very, very easily irritated or frustrated, very easily annoyed. We have some kind of Mars issue as well, some kind of adrenaline issue. There's usually too much fear. The irony is that while you need some healthy fear to function, to motivate, to act, if you have too much fear, then you're also very irritable, then you're in survival mode, right? Survival, good. Survival mode, not good. So then you have a reptilian brain, which is opposite to the frontal lobe, okay? So I have reptilian brain and I have frontal lobe. This is where Mars wants to be at. Mars does not want to be back here, okay? Mars is not in the back. Mars is in the front, yeah? I'm the vanguard. I'm on the front lines, fighting the enemy head on, like the ram. I am the logic center of the brain. So people who don't have any logic in the communication, who seem to always circle in your arguments, people that don't quite make sense, where the dots just don't line up, where their actions don't align with their words, Mars issue. Every time you see discrepancy between what you see here in the front and what the person is actually doing behind closed doors, again, Mars issue. Somebody being two-faced, hiding who they are, hiding their true expression, but putting up a false front, Mars issue. So everything to doing with cowardice, hiding yourself, because Mars is about your identity, your sense of self. Yes, the Sun is about your sense of self, but Mars, your identity, means this is what I'm going to put forward, so other people know where I stand. But if other people know where you stand, then you're gonna have enemies, because you're choosing a side. Don't you see? You're choosing to stand for something, and if you stand for something, I'm sorry, non-duality retards, but then you stand against something. Also scale, opposite of Mars, Libra. You stand for something. You must be against something. That's why it's the Mars, Aries, and Libra axis, because it's one entity. Both Aries and Libra, they're about the same thing. They're about morals and ethics, which you base your actions on. And your morals and ethics have to be specific. Specific. Mars, identify what the problem is. That's what we're going to do. If you don't, logic center of the brain, problems. Problems of judgment, of discernment, being able to tell truth from fiction, third eye, being able to discern the truth, being able to understand what is right and what is wrong, ethics. You see ethics and seeing through illusions, seeing through lies and manipulators. All of this is Mars. All of it is Mars. You didn't think that, did you? But yes, Mars is extremely encompassing. That's why it's so important, and that's why I focus so much on this planet, because like people have no idea. Like, yeah, okay, I have my sun. Of course, everybody knows sun and moon are important. Ascendant is important. But when you move on to Mercury, thinking, analysis, communication, yeah, sounds pretty important, but whatever. And when you move on to Venus, yeah, relationships, but whatever. But when you arrive at Mars, and here's what I have to say, it's no longer whatever. You can't be whatever with this planet. You have to, like I said, take a stand. So choose a side, and there will be enemies. So Mars is generator of enemies. Okay? So where you have Mars by the house, this is the area of life through which you will create enemies. That was weird. Sorry, Shadow. What is happening? So, I create enemies through my communication, through the words I speak. Of course, I'm gonna trigger people all the time, unfortunately. But that is the nature of my Mars. Look, if I wasn't triggering people with my words, I wouldn't be doing my job. Sorry to say. Most of my life, I never triggered anybody. I just stayed in my own lane, minded my own business, didn't choose a side. I have Moon in Libra in my natal chart. I have Moon as my chart ruler, so Libra was in charge, holding the Mars back from choosing a side. And that's why I had problems with my face. I had inflammation in my face, the fire got stuck. I had no interest in anything. I was lazy, unmotivated. I was always asking, why am I not getting motivated? Because I didn't choose a side. Because I didn't trigger anyone ever. Because I never fought anything. I never fought for anything. And if you don't fight for something, then you're not going to fight anybody. If you fight for something, you will have enemies. It's that simple. And no amount of bypassing and mental gymnastics and trying to rationalize and confabulate and reinterpret is going to make any difference. So Mars is also about no bullshit. Yeah? No bullshit in my communication. Third house Mars, you see? So this is where the house and the sign where you no more shit. Yeah? I am the warrior. I have arrived, taking a stand, cleaning house, eliminating hostiles, going to war. I'm at the front. So if you have Mars, you have the inner warrior. The inner warrior needs to accept the consequences for his actions. And in order to do that, you need some kind of morals and ethical guidelines on which to structure your identity, your sense of self, your sense of operating in the world. The Mars is an extension, it's an arm of your ego, the sun. So if the sun is your sense of being, Mars is the physical body that will carry it out. That's why it's your will, right? And God spoke his will, and thy will be done. Yeah? Be done. It must be done. This is what you have to do. Exercise your will. So if you are struggling with Mars, you are struggling with your willpower. Your willpower will be weak, so you will lack focus. You will lack commitment. You will lack the ability to make decisions. Decisions. Mars Libra axis again. Decisions, like I said, based on your identity. Your identity based on your guidelines, your morals, your ethics. Let's take it a step further. What are your morals and ethics built on? On your concept of what is right and what is wrong. What's your concept of right and wrong built on? Trial and error. Seeing what works in the real world and what doesn't work. So you have to take a risk. You have to make decisions in order to find out how to make decisions. It's kind of an irony, isn't it? But you have to take action in order to make mistakes from which you can build your morals and ethics, your right and wrong. If you don't know what is wrong, it's because you never allowed yourself to make the mistakes necessary to find out. So that's why Mars also is about courage and there's a certain impulsivity, certain boldness to it. Like, it's so primitive, so survival oriented. There's something inside of us, this fire. We don't think about it, right? We just do it. And that's what something what the third eye also is about. We don't think here. You look at me, I look at you, I see something. An archetypal image of something. I'm not thinking about it. I just see it. I just see what's in front of me. Right? I mean, even the eyes, like, I look around and I see things everywhere. That means I can identify that this is a fox. Only because I visually see what this is, I identify it. So that's Mars. Mars is the identifier. And like this fox, its colors are red, orange. Like the bull, he sees red and he charges forward. So it's based on our eyes, on our vision, that we take action. Why do I tell you this? Because if you don't make judgments, that's the whole point. I judge that this is a fox. Okay? See it's a fox, judge it's a fox. Identify. If I don't identify you, immediately, the moment I see you, if there's nothing, if I literally just ignore my identification of you, you're gonna be able to manipulate me. Because you can tell me something and I'm gonna ignore my instincts. That's a block Mars. But if I see you and I acknowledge that you are something, I don't understand it intellectually, I don't think about it, I don't know why you are that, but you are that. I am that. Like Nisargadatta Maharaj, I am that, you are that. I am that, you are that. Yeah, that's also Mars. So you look like a fox, so I'd call you a fox. So let's say I go out and there is this guy in front of a bar, and he looks really menacing, like really intimidating, like he's full of muscles, his face is like really bad mood. And I know I have to be careful, you know, I have to watch my step if I want to go into that bar. Mars tells me that, my third eye, my eyes tell me that, I don't have to think about it. I know that, I don't know, but I discern, I judge, I identify, this is something but I need to look out for. This is danger, this is a threat. So if I go online on Facebook and I see somebody's profile picture, immediately my third eye will either say that's a threat or that's not a threat. That's a friend or it's not a friend. It doesn't mean that I stay there and you look like a threat, so I'm never going to interact with you. That's not what it means. It means I take it into consideration. Okay, you look like somebody, like a narcissist, you look like a psycho, you look like a creep, you look like a pedophile. So I'm gonna watch out. I'm gonna observe you. Because my alarm bell, my third eye is ringing. Good. I've been notified, and now I can pay attention to it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna dictate my behavior. It's in my consideration. If my Mars was blocked, then I would be like, no. Who cares what you look like? I don't want to judge you. Whatever. Then I will ignore what you look like, and let's say you do something creepy. But because I ignore what my instincts are telling me, I'm gonna get stuck in the head. I'm gonna keep thinking about it, Mercury, thinking, re-evaluating, why are you abusing me, why are you being so creepy, why are you being so weird, blah 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 blah, why, and there's no connection, there's no that, okay? It's like the fluoride stare. You know, these people, they just look at you like zombies. They look at you like zombies because you, to them, are a zombie. You don't mean anything to them, and they don't mean anything to themselves. All of this is Mars blockages all around us, everywhere. All those people not taking action against the government, not saying anything, ignoring the authorities and what we're trying to enslave them. Just all of this is Mars blockage. So that's why Mars is so important, and there's no way to emphasize how much healing could happen if you look into your Mars and you identify what aspect of your Mars is not developed, not quite there. How is your Mars letting you down? And if you want to heal your Mars, you heal your masculinity. You heal your ability to be sexual in your energy. You heal your relationship with fear. It's the, again, Aries Libra axis. It's also the relationship axis. The relationship you have with yourself, with the world, with other people, with your work, with fear and anger, the most primitive of your feelings. If you don't have a healthy relationship with that, you don't have a healthy masculinity, period. And you want to burn through the food if you eat. You want to burn through toxins if you're sick. And you want to get rid of parasites, internally and externally. And you want to be motivated, so you don't have to force yourself. So you don't have to look for Saturn to please save me with your discipline. If your Mars is working well, you don't need discipline. You need self-control. You need to supervise your actions. But you don't need to force yourself to do anything, because your motivation will be so strong that you don't even have to think about it. You just do. You are somebody who is not stuck in his head. You are somebody that has no kidney problems. Your eyes are clear. The water in your eyes is soft. Your gaze is firm, like Jesus in the Bible. He had eyes of fire. And he was burning through his enemies, burning through the lies. He was illuminated because he was initiated into the higher teachings. Because his third eye was open. He knew what was right and what was wrong. And that is why he was holy. And he was like fire. Because fire is the first element. Is the most fundamental element that you can think of. The life force that sustains you. That this life force that made Jesus rise from the ashes. To rise up from the dead. If you don't have any motivation, you won't rise from those ashes. You're just gonna go down with them. And motivation, of course, like I said, comes from your fear, your ability to respect life. Why do we have fear in the first place? Do you ever think about that? Because we respect our body, our autonomy. We respect other people, so we're afraid of hurting them. We respect our environment. We respect nature. So we are afraid of abusing it. We value life because we are full of it. We appreciate that which gives us enthusiasm and excitement because we know why we need to get moving. And we know why we need to get moving because we know that stagnation is death. Apathy is death. Detachment can be and always seems to, in spiritual communities, end up being malignant detachment. Entropy. And Mars is the opposite of all of that. Mars is the opposite of everything that Buddhism stands for, that New Age stands for, that religion, self-sacrifice, self-negation, letting go of your desires, detaching from your anger, letting go of your fear. No. Let's start integrating our fear. Let's start appreciating our fear, understanding its function and applying it as a philosophy to our life so we can come back to life. Because without fear and anger, without the fires of industry, the lava that burns in our skin to forge our blades, our iron, our blood, without that, nothing is going to circulate. We're going to be pale, like a zombie. We're going to be cold. And we're going to end up like those priests who abuse children. We're going to end up like authority figures who abuse their power because they don't feel like they're alive. They feel dead inside because they don't respect life. They don't respect anybody. So it's ironic, really. But even though everybody thinks that Mars is about war and beating people up, actually it's about compassion. Compassion for life. If you don't have compassion for yourself, for your own life, then you will not fight for it. And you will not be afraid to lose it. Afraid to lose it, not like, oh, I don't mean fear of death. I mean fear of letting yourself down. When you could be fighting and helping yourself, producing something to support yourself, your survival, to make sure that tomorrow you live to fight another day. And for what? For what are you fighting? Again, it comes back to the appreciation for that which you love with your heart. The relationship between the Sun and the Mars, which are both fire planets. So the fire is the most essential of the elements. The first element in alchemy, before all the elements come. So it takes priority. So I hope you could find some value in this explanation of Mars. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.